This video today I'm going to be comparing the Free Willy franchise to the Sandlot franchise. Now in each case you have only 3 movies, though the difference is 2 of the Sandlot films are direct to video, so they're not as well known, not as talked about. Now in each case I've only seen one of these movies. Actually, in the case of Sandlot, I've seen both the first and second movie. Just right there, I even forgot to mention that I'd seen Sandlot 2. That should tell you something. I think it's a very forgettable movie that's just not anywhere near as memorable as that first film is. I've only seen the first Free Willy. When it comes to highest score for each franchise, Free Willy highest score is 71. Sandlot highest score is 65%. Free Willy wins this round. I think 65% is way too low for a classic sports movie like Sandlot. I don't get what critics' issue with this movie is. Don't get me wrong, 65 is not a bad score. It's a good score, it's fresh, but it's only barely fresh. That doesn't make sense to me. I think Sandlot should easily have at least an 80%. I think it should be higher than that personally, but at a minimum, it should be higher than 65. If I try to think, what are issues with Sandlot? I can't really think of any. I mean, I think the visuals are good. They're not super flashy, but they get the job done. I think the story is engaging. The characters are ones I like spending time with. I don't think it's a bad thing that the movie is sentimental, sweet, wholesome, feel good, devoid of cynicism. It's not jaded at all. I really appreciate that. It honestly seems to me like critics think it's bad when a movie is sentimental, sweet, wholesome, feel good. It's like they want movies to be cynical, and if it's not cynical, then it's bad. It seems like critics, for some reason, have a big problem with feel good dog movies. I don't get why at all. And then when you look at lowest score for each franchise, with Free Willy, the third movie only has a 44%. In the case of Sandlot, that second movie only has a 40%. Free Willy wins this round again. Then when you look at average, Free Willy has an average of 55, Sandlot has an average of 52. Free Willy wins this round. Then when you look at gap between lowest and highest score, with Free Willy, highest score 71, lowest score 44, so you have a gap of 27 there. With Sandlot, you have a gap of 25 between 65 and 40. So by just a little bit, Sandlot has a lower gap, so it does win this round. But because Free Willy already won 3 rounds and Sandlot has only won 1, Free Willy is going to win this debate regardless of my personal opinion. But let's look at it now. Which franchise do I prefer? And to me, this comes down to the question, which movie do I like more, Free Willy or Sandlot? I like both these movies. I don't think that one of them is substantially weaker than the other one, but for me personally, at the end of the day, I'm going to have to go with Sandlot. I think it's a bit more memorable. I think it's one of those classic sports movies. That line, "You're killing me, Smalls," is one I remember. And also the chase at the end between the dog and Benny. I like that you have this character in the movie, Benny, who to me comes off like a paragon because he's just such a good guy. He's really good at baseball. We see that he was kind to Scott Smalls even when the other kids weren't, and also he's the one who takes baseball more seriously than any of the other kids. We see how talented he is right at the end. We don't really see any flaws of this guy. He just comes off as kind, smart, compassionate, funny. So it's like, yeah, he's a great guy. Also, I like the fact that the movie actually presents the stepfather as a good guy, as someone who just wants to connect with Scott. We don't get any sense of nefariousness from him at all. No, it just seems like, yeah, he's a good person. And sure, it's said that he's unhappy that Scott stole his ball, which obviously is totally understandable. But we see that he doesn't like ground Scott for life, for example. He just grounds him for a week. That's a reasonable punishment for what Scott did. In the case of Free Willy, I think this is a really good movie. It's also a bit more serious when compared to Sandlot. If you just think about what we see in the movie. You know, our main character starts off as an orphan who's just living on the street with other orphan kids. He's bouncing around between different foster homes. Clearly, he has a hard time trusting people. The way he's lived has taught him to be distrustful of others, to be suspicious of them. So it takes time for him to actually feel like he now has a stable home, which he ends up having. The movie is really heartwarming when you get to the end of it, when our main kid actually has accepted that this is my family. These people are not going to abandon me. They are here for me. They want to have a relationship with me. And also, our main kid does end up saving the whale, Willy, by the end of the movie. So it ends on a really sweet note, but it's definitely more serious. When it comes down to the question of which movie am I more likely to rewatch, Free Willy or Sandlot, to me it's pretty obvious. I would easily rewatch Sandlot more than Free Willy. Not because Free Willy's bad, but just because of the fact that it's a bit more of an adult movie, whereas Sandlot is just more sentimental, more of a sweet movie that just makes you feel good. I like the way that's structured with adults, Scott Smalls narrating the whole time he's remembering that summer from his childhood. I like the way the movie starts with adult Scott Smalls going to the baseball stadium, and then you see that picture of the 9 kids all together. Then it goes back to the past as well. Adult Scott Smalls is remembering this great summer. So I think that Sandlot's really well done, because it's not quite as serious as Free Willy is. It's the one I'm more likely to rewatch. That'll be it for this video.